Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to Cafe Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valentino, the last place on earth. Mike Matthews here.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And that's why this show is called Mike's Daily Podcast, because it's Mike Matthews hosting the show. And it's so immersive. Wait, that was the name of the last show. Do you like a particular type of cursive? Is it something that you type in, or do you do the boring thing the same? What is it? Arial? Is that the thing we get all the time when we start
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Start any sort of email? I forget. But it's episode 2617.
Mike's
That's
Daily
the number of the podcast. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got kind of a little blippy thing happening with my recording device, so I may have talked all over my singing. But that's okay. You know why? Because I sang it. I'm the backup vocals. And if I step on my backup vocals, the only people that get upset is me. The several backup vocalists that are all me. The last podcast, we discussed some of the interesting stuff that was happening during the 3-day weekend. What was some of the interesting stuff you did on the 3-day weekend? I took an unofficial poll of interesting things people did during the 3-day weekend. And you know what the number one thing was? Nothing. They just relaxed. They just had... It was quiet is what the number one adjective that I heard over and over again. It was a quiet weekend. I just relaxed. Good. That's what we need in this world of things like debt ceilings and debt ceilings trying to get passed and people getting upset with debt ceilings. I'm done saying the word debt ceiling on today's podcast. Although I might say the word smile, because if you are listening to this on the last day of May, it is National Smile Day. Smile though your heart is breaking is what I'm going to tell you.
And here's today's podcast picture.
It's of the late great Basil the Boxer, and a wonderful moment we shared with, 6 years ago. He and I were walking around Coal Canyon, and he was enjoying himself running around there at Coal Canyon. And, well, I got a picture of him, and you can see it at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Such a great dog. We were discussing, my neighbor and I were discussing dogs today, and how, yes, you got to walk them all the time, but you know what? It's a good thing. You get out and you get some fresh air and you meet people, but you really need to walk your dog all the time. The late, great Basil the Boxer. I walked him almost to the day he died. I couldn't walk him anymore, actually, at that point, because he just couldn't walk. He just couldn't hold his weight up anymore. So I had to carry him around the house anyway, but yeah, it was tough at the end. So try and smile. Try and think about the good times. Like this podcast picture is one of the better times, the memorable, wonderful days. And I walked him so much I hurt my feet. I still feel a little bit of pain in my feet because I did not invest in good shoes, and I destroyed the shoes that I wore. I used to run into this guy, Bob, all the time. And Bob told me, you need to invest in these shoes. And he gave me the name of these shoes. And they were the most expensive shoes I had ever seen. And he said, nope, this is what you need. He's about 10 years older than me, and he said, this is what you need or you're going to mess up your feet. And he hiked a lot. He walked a lot. And he enjoyed Basil. He'd pet him every time he saw him. Basil would go all crazy. He'd shake his butt because that's what boxers do. They like to do that wiggle thing with they do a shimmy. Tell me, do you want to see me do the shimmy again? French, Dutch marks of dollars. It's my little Tina Turner homage. No, I'm your private. That song's been in my head for days now. I can't get it out. I believe Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits wrote that. Had something to do with that song. It's also National Macaroon Day. That's wonderful, isn't it? I eat a macaroon and I feel like, what did I do? Did I just eat air that was slightly sweet? I ate sweetened air. Not like when you eat cotton candy. and that's sweetened air, basically. But a macaroon, it's like you think you're eating a cookie, but they're gone in an instant. Very unsatisfying to me, macaroons. But it is also National Flip-Flop Day, and my whole point of talking about needing good shoes is flip-flops are the absolute opposite of that. And just so you need to not wear flip-flops as much as possible in your life. Maybe it's okay as kids, but I never had a good experience wearing flip-flops, even as a kid. Something would get in my foot, foot would get out of the flip-flop. I'd end up hurting my foot, something fierce. And nowadays, just forget it. Don't even do it. This is also what today is, and I should practice this more often. National Speak in Complete Sentences Day. And Mike, that does not mean speaking in run-on sentences, which I love to do, but complete sentences. Because it's annoying when you don't get a complete sentence. Your brain, when you're listening to someone giving not an incomplete sentence, your brain will do a little bit of a, what? What just happened? It's also National Autonomous Vehicle Day, so you might see some advertisements about that.
You will travel into the incredible universe.
That one commercial I keep seeing all the time.
Magnification.
I think it's probably on YouTube. This commercial pops up and it shows these young people in a car that has no driver, and they're all excited and happy, and they're just videoing it on their phones. So basically the commercial, they're not spending billions of dollars on a nice commercial where remember when Gwyneth Paltrow got paid some crazy amount of money for a perfume commercial? Nope. Nowadays, Baz Luhrmann. No, it was Nicole Kidman that was in it. Baz Luhrmann, the famous Australian director, directed this commercial and was paid a gazillion dollars. As we go outside a cafe anyway, where we're bringing you Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Podcastro Valley.
Anyway.
The last place on earth.
Magnification.
Nope, nowadays, they just have commercials of people holding their phones, talking to the camera. Oh, it just annoys me. It's like, spend a little money, company that's assaulting me with their commercial. Put a little money into it. Don't just take someone's
The front panel will close automatically.
video that they just videoed off their selfie camera lens in their phone. It's also World No Tobacco Day. Ugh, I imagine a world of no tobacco and it makes me happy, but there is no such thing. And that makes me sad. And National Save Your Hearing Day. And from the very beginning when I got into radio, there was an engineer. I actually knew his name wasn't John Deere, the engineer, but it was kind of like that. And he told me right off the bat, Mike, what you need to do is you need to be very protective of your hearing and make sure that, because when you're in a studio, a radio studio, there's monitors, there's speakers, and a volume knob on the board that you use when you're in the radio business, when you're talking on the radio. And a lot of disc jockeys, oh, hey, this is my favorite song. They'll blast the song. They'll turn the monitor all the way up, the speaker volume all the way up, and it just kills your ears. Same thing with your headphones, which podcasters don't use headphones anymore because it's all about the video. It's all about, oh, look at me. Look how good I look. I don't need headphones. And that's why podcasts today sound absolutely horrible, atrocious. I was talking to someone, as I talk far away from the microphone like most podcasters do these days. I was talking to someone who does a podcast, but the thing is, she doesn't do a podcast. She does an interview on Zoom with someone and then posts that video to YouTube. And then through something, I think on Spotify, she can take that same video and Spotify turns it into a podcast, quote unquote. In other words, it's just the audio being played. Well, yes, but there's no attention being paid to the audio. So the audio is horrible. Yet this is what Spotify has, tons and tons and tons. So many podcasters, quote unquote podcasters, that are really video people, video interviewers, video bloggers. Vloggers is what they are, and they're turning it into podcasts. It just, I wish the audience out there, the listeners out there, were more discerning, but they're not. So this, for lack of a better word, stuff gets put all over Spotify, and it's just the worst. It's not based in radio. It's based in YouTubers wanting to find another way. You know, oh, I'll just put it on Spotify. It's horrible. Okay, what else is horrible? How about something that's good? How about saying that the debt ceiling nightmare may soon be over? Possibly this is also interesting, Memorial Day air travel over this 3-day weekend saw 9.79 million people fly, which tops the 2019 levels. Yes, we finally topped the 2019 levels. Is that a sign of we're going back to normal? We were continuing the trend we were doing in 2019? I don't remember flying in 2019. I flew in 2018. And I don't remember what that experience was like, but yeah, we're back to flying. Everybody's in the sky. And here's this thing I found out through Rob Black. I produce his podcast. It's called Rob Black and Your Money. And he wrote this up. This is interesting. The Barbie movie. Wasn't there that band called Aqua? I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. I'm made of plastic and all that. Well, they're finally making this. You've probably heard about it. YouTube. There's all these videos about it. Margot Robbie is Barbie. Ryan Gosling is Ken. And it is Mattel's Barbie movie, a live action movie directed by Greta Gerwig. It has a budget of up to $100 million. That's how much was used to make this movie. The hype around Mattel's upcoming Barbie movie is building. It could pay off in the toy maker's bottom line and stock price. The Barbie movie could haul in $400 million at the box office. And Mattel, Barbie is their the goose that laid the golden egg. So this is what they're hoping for, just like Nintendo and their Mario Brothers movie. A higher box office equals higher profits for Mattel, since the company actually did not fund the production. Interestingly, Mattel has 14 content projects in development, including a Matchbox movie. Matchbox was their toy cars. They're also going to do something for Hot Wheels, the Magic 8 Ball. Oh my gosh. That's one thing, yeah. A lot of people had a Magic 8 Ball. Don't have the answer at this time, I guess, is one of the things that used to pop up. It was basically it was a pyramid, wasn't it? A 3-sided pyramid that just floated inside a ball, basically. That was a miniature little tank of water. It was a snow globe, essentially. And you would shake it, and then that pyramid would want to come back up to the surface, to that little glass window, and that would have your answer. So that is because you would just want a random answer to decide things in your life, because life is so random, I guess. Masters of the Universe is another movie they're going to do, which they've already done already. There was years ago, of course, the cartoon. There was a live action Masters of the Universe movie, unless I'm imagining that. And Rock'em Sock'em Robots they're going to try and make into a movie. Apparently, their stock price has lost 25% in the past year as consumers pulled back on spending. And so they sacrificed their Mattel stuff. Outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley, look who's here.
Hello, my commercial, Madame Rootabega, and all of that is very interesting. Oh,
Are you a big fan of Barbie?
yes,
Do you like Ken?
yes,
Do you like Barney?
no.
Oh, Mattel's also going to make a Barney movie, too. Isn't that exciting? Look who else is here.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Mike, do you have that thing where you mentioned what the day was, and then you forget what the day was?
Yeah, you forgot the day. Do you know that?
World Hearing Day. I know that was one of the things I mentioned. So, happy National World Hearing Day. And I forgot all the other ones. It's National Forget the Day That It Is Today Day is what I think it is. So that's pretty much the podcast today. I hope it was immersive, but that was the last podcast. I hope it was discerning. Is that an adjective for the show? That maybe you're the discerning one for listening to this podcast. Thank you for being that. Oh, so I don't know if you live in the world of Acorn TV. My lovely lady friend and I do. She's got Amazon Prime, and we watch this all the time, all these different shows. And generally, they're shows that were big in England or released in England, or sometimes even Australia and New Zealand. Well, we found this new show that we're watching that was made back 10 years ago. They did 2 seasons, and then they stopped, and they did a season last year. And the show is called Happy Valley. And it is anything but happy. It is so depressing and sad. And it's this town somewhere in England, I think in the north part. They all have that northern England accent. And it's this horrible kidnapping that goes wrong. Yes, that sounds a lot like Fargo, I know. It is very Fargo-esque, only not as... Fargo had its entertaining, funny parts, I guess you could say. But this is just dark and sad. And we're so far into it now in the first season. I want to see how it ends. But my lovely lady friend and I have a bad habit. She's really bad with it, in that she'll go on Wikipedia and read ahead and see what happens. Yes, see the last page of the book, basically. So she already knows what's going to happen. And I rarely do it, but this show, this is just, I'm like, it takes these terrible turns. I don't think I can watch the end of it. It is so bad and depressing. I hate shows like that. I know it's supposed to be realistic, and it's sad, and it's called gut-wrenching, and people like that kind of thing. But to me, it's definitely not something I want to watch before I go to sleep, because then I have awful nightmares and dreams that are terrible. So that's what I've discovered. Happy Valley. The misnamed Happy Valley. Have you seen that? Have you have anything to say about anything else we covered on today's podcast? Is that what you have? Any of that? Any ideas and thoughts? You can call me 510-228-4640. And with more ways to reach me, it's A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!